Boston, Beverly, and Colombo, Sri Lanka. No matter the letter of the town from where you're streaming from, live streaming friends, we are so glad you are here. Friends in the pews, let's take a moment to turn towards the camera near the welcoming congregation banner and wave, offering a greeting to our friends at home. And now let's turn and greet one another.
Welcome, everyone, to this morning's service of the Winchester Unitarian Society, a caring religious community devoted to spiritual growth, social transformation, and environmental responsibility. And as a welcoming congregation, we affirm the full inclusion of people of all sexual orientations and gender identities. My name is Martin Newhouse, and I'm serving as your worship associate this morning. As Unitarian Universalists, our faith does not require us to believe in a dogma, tenet, or a creed, and among us we believe many different things. We prize freedom of thought and open, honest discussion and questioning, because these, we believe, enrich both our spiritual lives and our work in the community. Indeed, we can still say today, and we can still proudly state, as the first minister of this society, Richard Metcalf, did over 100 years ago, we do not regard even the best creed as final. We look for new truths and new statements of old ones. We maintain the unlimited right of free inquiry. But while our faith does not impose any dogma or belief, we recognize that it does call on us to do certain things. And among these, we recognize and affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. In that spirit, we greet with joy and fellowship all who are gathering with us this morning, both in person and via live streaming, and we welcome you all. A couple of announcements. Today is the first service in April, so it's time to remind you all of our summer services and to ask anyone who's interested in leading a service this summer to let me know. Next Sunday, join us for a program about coping with memory loss, a partnership between our Pastoral Care Associates team and the Boston Alzheimer's Association. You may attend in person or by Zoom, but you must register in advance. Lunch will be provided for on-site attendees. Learn more through our newsletter highlights. All, of course, are invited to coffee and conversation after worship in the Sims Room, located at the back of the sanctuary. As this is the first Sunday of the month, social hour will include a time to honor those with birthdays in April, and there will be cake. And now, if we can put the thoughts of cake a little bit in the future, let us open our hearts and minds to the spirit of worship.
I invite leaders from our membership committee to join me in offering our invocation. You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week, or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth,
you are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside, or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul in this moment.
You are beloved, and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, let us worship together.
To come forward to light our chalice. We kindle a flame of power, illuminating the holy in each of our faces. We recognize in the flame a commitment to our shared faith. We are held and carried from day to day, week to week, in the shining of the light. The flame is mine as well as yours. We are brought together on this day, called to growth, to expansion within its glow. Please now rise in body, rise in spirit, to join in singing hymn number 7 in the gray hymnal, The Leaf Unfurling.
I'd like to invite all of those who are young and young at heart to come forward for a story. Good morning, everyone. Come on up. Come on up, everybody. Good to see all your faces this morning. So I have Reverend Heather here with me, and I was supposed to have another person, but that person got sick. So I'm going to tell you about that person even though they're not here. That person is Sam, who many of you know well, but some of you started here after he left. He was away on sabbatical, which is when a person travels somewhere for some reflecting time and some relaxation time. So Sam was away from November through March, and we're really excited to have him back, even though he's not here right now. When we said goodbye to Sam in November, you might remember that the youth group kids made a circle and talked about what Sam means to each of them. Does anybody remember that? And while they did that, they wound yarn around him. Does anybody remember? That was kind of fun, right? So, right, it was an visible, invisible sweater. So, so we did that to remind Sam and ourselves that even when we're far apart, we're always connected through our love and appreciation for one another. So you may have noticed these on the table outside the sanctuary. I see Ira has one. Did anybody else get one? Nice. Good job. All right. So those will be out there for us to enjoy. As you might remember, I'd mentioned a while ago that we were going to start this project to do together. Anyone, even grown-ups, can do one. And we can do as many as we like. We'll just keep putting more out there. There are bags for us to save our work in for next Sunday, or we can put our started project back in the basket and have someone else pick it up and do some of the work on it. So it's up to you. You get to decide exactly what you want to do. So this project is a way for us to stay connected to one another. When we finish a chalice, we can choose to keep it or give it to someone in our community who might need a little reminder of our connection and care. Another part of our community, our youth group, which includes most of these RE teachers right here with us, and that you see each Sunday in your classes, they are all going down to West Virginia next week to help people with their homes. It's pretty awesome. And when you get a little bigger, you guys can join them, right? But when they go, we won't see them, but we'll still be connected to them. They will bring our love and care along with them and along with their helping hands to do good work in the world. So the idea of community is really about connection, those invisible threads that tie us to one another. There are so many connections and threads. And I just want to check and make sure that screen was down. There are so many connections and threads that our community ends up being like a tapestry. Does anyone know what a tapestry is? Yeah? What is it, Jeremiah? Right. It's a wall hanging. Stuff sewn on it. Yep. Yep. Woven on it, basically. So basically, it's a weaving. It's a large hanging, like a blanket or a rug, that has a detailed picture on it. And you can see on the screen, there's a picture of a somewhat famous tapestry called The Lady and the Unicorn. Does everybody see that? So this picture seems really clear to us, doesn't it? It's obvious. There's a lady sitting there, and there's a unicorn next to her, kind of in her lap a little bit, right? It's very interesting and very detailed. Yeah. So it's funny, though, to think that this weaving is made up of thousands of little threads, thousands of them, all woven together. Just like each of us makes up one small but important part of our community. Without those threads, the picture wouldn't be visible. Each of us doing our part, contributing our thread, builds a loving, respectful, supportive community. And don't we all want to be a part of something beautiful like that? I invite the grown-ups to sing the kids to RE. The words are in your order of service.
We now come to the centering time in our service, quieting our hearts and minds, first through words and then ritual, kindling of the light, a time to light a candle of personal joy, sorrow, or concern, either here in the sanctuary, at the candle table, or at home. At that time, if you would like a candle brought to you in the pews, please raise your hand. After we kindle the light, we'll be together in a time of shared silence, out of which our choir will sing. We begin with a meditation by Rob Spiegel. He writes, "The lyric, 'When we awake, we will remember everything,' comes from the chorus of 'When We Awake' by Richard Manuel and Robbie Robertson of the band. The song is about a boy going to his grandfather for wisdom. The song doesn't explain exactly what the line means, but it's remained in my head for decades. That thought, when we awake, we will remember everything, seemed true to me on some level I didn't understand when I heard it as a teenager. The idea has haunted me through the years in a very encouraging and hopeful way. In the very core of my presence here, I believed it. While reading spiritual texts, anything from the Upanishads and The Way of Life to Eckhart Tolle and A Course in Miracles, I've experienced a remembering rather than a learning. I get an overwhelming feeling of recollection when reading spiritual texts. Over the years, I've come to believe we already know who we are. We already know our oneness with each other. So the process of spiritual learning, of coming to consciousness and being part of spirit, is a process of recollecting. Our spirituality is a path of coming home. When we awake, we will remember everything. We will remember who we belong to. We will understand that we have never been alone. Even in the depths of seeming isolation, we are one with spirit and always have been. When we awake, we will remember everything. Let us now kindle the light. We gather not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community within and beyond these walls. If you've been coming to the Winchester Unitarian Society for a while, these words might sound familiar. And if this is your first or second time attending worship here, you will hear them again soon. This is the beginning of the affirmation of shared ministry, words we are invited to read in unison every Sunday. While these words are often spoken, we have yet to reflect on what the beloved community means in a focused and public way. There is no better time than the present. This phrase has an important history. Beloved community was first articulated by philosopher Josiah Royce, but made popular by Martin Luther King Jr. As a Christian, King understood the beloved community as the manifestation of the kingdom of God on earth. And as a social justice activist, this manifestation is made known by the presence of plenty, peace, freedom, and love. In the words of the King Center, Martin Luther King defined the beloved community as a world where caring and compassion drive political policies that support the worldwide elimination of poverty and hunger and all forms of bigotry and violence. At its core, the beloved community is an engine for reconciliation. Since King's adoption of this visionary term, it has come to represent something greater still. As I understand it, the beloved community is an intentional community, be it an organization or institution of learning, of faith, or activism, with an objective of changing lives. While any collection of human beings is a community, such as a neighborhood or a city, not all human groups choose to align with one another in a meaningful way, to actively seek personal and social change. I have learned and fervently believe that a spiritual community is a countercultural space. If we are to cultivate a caring and compassionate world whose systems yield authentic equity and opportunities for all people to thrive, it begins by nurturing care and compassion within and among ourselves. If there is to be reconciliation, the beloved community is a place where we learn how to make reconciliation possible and where, on the individual and interpersonal level, it first takes root. So when we say that that part of our collective identity and purpose is building the beloved community, we are saying that we are mindful of how we are together and how these life-giving connections foster personal growth. We who are healed, strengthened, and emboldened through our relationships here have the vision and courage to bring healing, strength, and power beyond this community, where we are invited into equally genuine civic partnerships. Recently, our membership committee discussed an interesting resource, reminding us that an intentional community is a diverse community, not just in identity, age, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, preference for cats or dogs, etc. I have both a cat and a dog, so I'm not sure what that means. But also tenure. The needs, questions, and experiences of those first encountering a community, striving for personal and social transformation, are different from those who've been part of the community for a long time. Our beloved community is always a mix of new and established connections, always in flux, with people coming and going, each bringing an important gift along with their fragile humanity. This inspired us to create today's service, hearing from members in different seasons of connection with the Winchester Unitarian Society. What are their experiences of the congregation, their questions? How has the congregation changed them, and how do they wish to make an impact? We will first hear from Lori Russell, who, with her husband, Mike Lambert, has been an active part of the WUS community for the better part of a year. We will then hear from Sophia Sid, a member since 2015 and active even longer. This week, I have had short interviews with a number of longtime members, yielding a composite reflection. Verses of our centering hymn, number 360 in the gray hymnal, Here We Have Gathered, will punctuate this morning's reflections. Before we hear from Lori, let's remain seated and begin by singing the first verse together.
Good morning. I'm Lori Russell, and along with my husband, Mike Lambert, we are relative newcomers to WUS. Thank you to the membership committee and Heather for encouraging us to share a bit about our journey in exploring the WUS community. It began last summer when Mike and I decided to explore a more formal community that spoke to our spiritual needs and values. Earlier that summer, Mike had had a positive Unitarian church service experience that affected him to start this journey. I was raised in a Christian-based household, and thanks to Mike's new interest in faith exploration, I felt that it would be a good time for me to revisit belonging to a faith community that better matched my current spiritual leanings as a somewhat more mature adult. In all honesty, we did not have to look very far, because although we don't reside in Winchester, and due to my professional career, we have been a part of the Winchester community for more than 20 years. We already knew many members in the WUS congregation and have attended your concerts. And of course, we want to have a worship experience that includes outstanding music. And we already knew that John Kramer would deliver on that attribute. Since walking through the threshold into WUS on a Sunday morning back in August, Mike and I have found you to be very welcoming and encouraging in our exploration. In retrospect, we feel that arriving during the summer was a blessing. The services were led by members of the congregation, and we were fascinated by the topics that you covered. In all honesty, we held our breath a bit when September came in hopes that your minister would be equally thought-provoking and stimulating in her reflections. Happily, Heather, you over-delivered on that hope. We also soon came to understand that we were not alone in being the newbies at WUS. In October, after one of the services, the membership committee held a luncheon. Here we met others who were also exploring WUS. That was reassuring for us to learn that we were not the only ones who didn't know everyone else. We also noticed that while chatting after services, everyone has been friendly and eager to share your WUS history with us. Yet, you have not been overly overt in your overtures to become a member. You have gently encouraged us to participate in various discussions, potlucks, and other events. Mike and I are people who are not inclined to join organizations that only offer a transactional relationship. We prefer to have an experience that is more transformational, and that's why we volunteer for the committees or participate in the WUS projects or special events when we can do so. It has allowed us to connect more deeply with you, and perhaps you with us. At WUS, we are grateful to have found a community of like-minded humans to feed and grow our spirituality. Thank you for welcoming us into the WUS community and helping us explore this journey.
Good morning. I'm Sophia Sid. Reverend Heather and membership invited me to share my experiences as someone in the middle of their WUS journey. While I'm not new, I wasn't raised in this congregation or married here 50 years ago, so it's fair to say I'm in the middle. While I'm jealous of WUS lifers, I'm pleased to share the experiences I've had so far in this special place. It was music that first inspired me to walk through the doors of the Winchester Unitarian Society. In 2010, after moving to Medford, John Kramer mentioned that Winchester wasn't far and that he thought I'd enjoy singing in the choir. Of course, he was right. It's often been said from this pulpit that singing is like praying twice. And I agree. Singing in choir allows me the opportunity to reflect more deeply on the theme of our service, whether it's about a social or environmental injustice issue or the mystery of the universe. Singing helps me internalize it. And luckily for me, these experiences I have each Sunday counter the effects of all the doom scrolling I do on all of the other days of the week. Among the many reasons I keep coming back to WUS, the youth are a favorite. Every time there's a youth-led service and I see and hear how our youth live out their UU values, my heart is filled with joy. That's why I first got involved with the WUSCG and agreed to serve as a service trip chaperone. Since then, I've seen many times how Allison and Sam create a safe space where all the youth can feel heard and accepted. It is truly one of the most sacred and holy things that happens here. And this is why I'm looking forward to seeing our WUSCGers in action again during our service trip to War, West Virginia in 6 days. Switching gears, Heather asked me to also share some disappointments. While I know that some people thrived during COVID, I didn't. And it was a hard time for WUS. While now I appreciate being able to Zoom into WUS from Florida instead of attending my sister's evangelical church, in 2020 I did not enjoy attending Zoom services. While we started gathering in person again, it was difficult to see our congregation so diminished compared to the before times. Last year, one of our membership projects was culling and reorganizing the WUS name tags. Seeing so many tags of people who used to be WUS regulars get boxed up hit me hard. But in her usual positive spirit, Reverend Heather said, "Look at all the space we've created for all the new people to come." It has been gratifying to see her prediction come true as I look out and I see so many fresh faces in the pews. It is especially wonderful to see our religious education program flourishing under Brenna's leadership and to hear what our curious and exuberant children have to say each Sunday as they walk on their own path at WUS. Another joy is our Parents Covenant group, which Karen Caputo, Sheila Rudolph Correa, and I launched last year. At one of our recent meetings, a WUSCGer who was providing childcare asked, "What goes on in there?" I told her it was just like a WUSCG check-in, but for parents. She thought that was cool, and she was happy that parents have a safe space too. While some people jump in with both feet and sign the book as soon as they arrive, for me, it was a slow burn. I'm generally shy, and for years I sang in the choir and then bolted right out after the service. After getting involved with various projects and committees, I slowly built friendships and conversations that changed my worldview. It's been a privilege getting to know, admire, and love so many people here and to make WUS my spiritual home. Thanks for listening and for being part of WUS. I'm truly honored and grateful to be here together with you.
This week, I met with 4 longtime members of the Winchester Unitarian Society. I also posed some of the same questions at a worship associates meeting. About half of our worship associates became members during my time as minister, and the other half joined beforehand. If you are a longtime member and wonder why I did not reach out to you, my invitation was shaped primarily by whomever had the misfortune of attending a meeting where I was in the room. It was a more spontaneous than scientifically rigorous process. Our longtime members first connected with WUS through many different paths. Some came for intergenerational community, wanting a place for their children to have a spiritual home and to know other older adults who reflected their values. Another was part of a theater group, the Winchester Players, and slowly formed a relationship with the people upstairs in the sanctuary. Another was invited by WUS member Donna Raven to join the Society's parenting group, Mothers and Others, all first connected in the 1980s. The people I spoke with have witnessed and been part of significant theological transitions, from the gold cross on the chancel table in worship, to fervent humanism, to now referencing God on more than one occasion. I asked these members when it was that the Winchester Unitarian Society shifted from simply a place they went to becoming their spiritual home. For one, friendships with other parents became an important touchstone. For another, it was seeing how their children flourished in the youth programs, and for themselves, forming meaningful relationships. He was part of one of the first groups to travel to New Orleans to respond to the devastation of Hurricane Katrina. Later, it was connections fostered in a covenant group. Another experience to shift gradually, a recognition of having this growing importance in my life. This growing importance inspired deeper involvement, taking part in the process of becoming an intentionally welcoming congregation to queer people through the Welcoming Congregation program, working beside others on projects and in committee work, teaching Our Whole Lives, the comprehensive sex education curriculum for 7th and 8th graders, and after much healing in the wake of his wife's death, co-leading a grief support group. And for another, it was connecting beyond a small group, finding inspiration on Sunday morning, and like the others, finding her people through making important relationships. When I lead membership workshops, I make a point of stating that at some point, we will disappoint you. Being part of a human community inevitably comes with conflict, hurt feelings, and frustration, along with the joy of human connection. So I asked our members if there was ever a time they thought of leaving. What was the moment and what inspired them to stay? One served on the Committee on Shared Ministry when members of the congregation organized and asked a minister to resign. She was disappointed in some of the behavior she saw exhibited by people she thought she knew. But she concluded, this is like a family. This model of relationship convinced her to stay and work through the most difficult moments of that crisis. Another, reflecting on similar painful moments, simply affirmed that his tie to the congregation was not a transactional relationship. When I asked if there was something they thought newcomers needed to know, they said, "This is a place where we can be held however we need to be. The congregation is the community, not the minister, although those who take the time to invest in a relationship with the minister are often better for it. You can make things happen here. This is a place to discover and practice your values, strengthening connections between head and heart." These conversations inspired an extra bonus question from me. You see, Unitarian Universalism is not a creedal but a covenantal faith. We believe many things about the reality of the world, the presence and absence of a God, and then some. What holds us together is the promises we make about how to be together. This understanding of what makes a congregation a distinct community, perhaps even a beloved community, goes back to the Cambridge Platform crafted in 1648. Living together in covenant is a foundational element of Universalist and Unitarian heritage. The only thing is, this congregation doesn't have a covenant, not an explicit one anyway. So when I asked if you had to put words to the ways we relate to each other so the community holds together, what would they be? What is our unspoken covenant? The following is some of what they said, also wordsmithed in a more intuitive than thorough process. This can be a place of belonging. We are here for one another. We agree to show up, to be honest, and to be present, so you can too, and we will not be unkind. We are here to listen, to serve, to offer each other grace. We help each other be our best selves. We are with one another to know one another and to love one another. We promise to learn and grow together towards the values we espouse. We recognize each person as a gift. When I begin a worship service, I almost always affirm, we gather in this sacred space, made more sacred in this moment by the presence and attention of each and every one of us. If there is a through line in all these conversations, it is the importance of each person's presence, the interpersonal relationships, what is yielded by the covenant holding this assembly of human beings together as one. The same worship service with strangers would be a very different experience than one with those we've come to know and trust over time. This is perhaps one way many of us live into the promise, as named in another part of our affirmation, to embody transformative love. No matter how many moments we have lived as part of the Winchester Unitarian Society, I hope these promises continue to endure Sunday by Sunday, potluck by potluck, conversation by conversation. As we know, so many in this world need to be held in such care. May the vision of Royce and King and so many others flourish. May all one day know the blessings of beloved community.
I know I'm not supposed to editorialize, but I'm so grateful for the range of comments we've heard today. One hoped for goal of our church is to encourage all who gather here to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This indeed is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring us human beings closer to the divine by acts of creation, generosity, and compassion. We now are asked to make an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will help support the self-supporting church and its many ministries. As you know, it is our regular practice to share what is placed in the collection plate with organizations living out Unitarian Universalist values. This morning, we share our gifts with Ferry Beach, a Unitarian Universalist retreat and conference center in Maine. Ferry Beach is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with a mission, quote, to awaken hearts to explore, grow, and renew the spirit of universal love. It is the site of many programs beloved by youth and their families. Here are the different ways you can donate. Those in the sanctuary may give cash, checks, or donate electronically. Text to the number in your order of service or visit our website under the Giving page. If you are visiting us for the first time, either in person or online, you are our guest. In-person attendees can find a physical visitor card in the pew racks in front of you. Please complete it and put it in the collection plate. And if you can't complete it in time to do that, just bring it to the office after the service. Information about how to give online and how to complete the virtual visitor card will soon be shared with live stream attendees through text on your screen. The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received.
Only me
Those who wish to do so are invited to join in the unison affirmation enriched by Reverend Heather's remarks. We gather not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community within and beyond these walls. We create and reaffirm this covenant this day to make justice flourish, to practice compassion amidst difference, and to embody transformative love. Now please rise in body, rise in spirit, to join in singing our closing hymn, number 318 in the gray hymnal, We Would Be One.
As we prepare to leave this place, may we hold fast to the truth that there is a place where we belong, a place of full hearts, open minds, and vulnerable spirits. May we return to the practice of becoming our best selves. May we discover the gift within ourselves and the gift within all that dwells within and beyond these walls until we gather in this place again. Or let's go to the World War I monument. Slowly, carefully. Everyone must leave the building. And once we get there slowly and carefully and come back, we'll sing and eat cake, okay? Let's help each other get there.